Sisu is best described as tenacious, relentless willpower, perseverance, indomitability, and a part of the Finnish national identity. It is so said to be impossible to translate into English, but having lately started reading the Berserk manga, I believe Kentaro Miura took the first English word he managed to take from that definition and named the main character as Guts after it. It could be for the same reason why writer-director Jalmari Helander chose Sisu, after Immortal, as the title for his 2023 action movie starring his brother-in-law Jorma Tommila, along with its recent sequel Sisu+Si2u Road to Revenge. When the first movie came out, I briefly acknowledged it in my Batman The Doom That Came to Gotham video as a comparative explanation to Batman's Lovecraftian plot armor in that story, because Tommila's character Aatami Korpi seemed to have something similar to it in both movies. The first one was done with 6 million euros budget, which it was able to get back double thanks to the international distribution, and likely because of that, Helander was given a green light to do a sequel with that doubled budget. In the case of both movies, all that money must have gone into the stunts, effects, audio, and music, as well as actors who felt like they wanted to be involved in the making of these movies. In the case of the sequel, the bad guy from James Cameron's Avatar movies, and the guy who killed Bruce Wayne's parents in Batman Begins. But to actually talk about what these two movies are about. In 1944, aka at the tail end of World War II, Finland was in a situation where our alliance with Germany, done out of ignorance of the atrocities committed by the National Socialist Party until they were defeated by the Allied forces, and because we had not allied with anyone else but them, had broken down, and the German soldiers still on the Finnish soil had taken the break-up that badly that they might as well have invented the name for the scorched earth tactic, with how much they destroyed everything on their way out. In the middle of all that, we have Jorma Tommila's character, a former Finnish army commando Aatami Korpi, who after the death of his wife and sons has retreated into the hinterlands of Lapland to follow the footsteps of Scrooge McDuck, aka to find gold to retire, or die trying. Eventually he does find more than enough gold to carry to the nearest bank, and on his way there Aatami comes across a Waffen-SS platoon, who see his gold as loot to steal off from him, and that is where the action kicks off for the first movie. The gold being the only thing Aatami has left, along with his horse killed by the SS and his unnamed Bedlington Terrier, Aatami ends up using the extreme version of physical sign language to keep the SS off his gold, and instead gives them their comeuppance since they are Nazis. Aatami not holding back against them is also justified as one of them, played by Jack Doolan named as Wolf, is shown looking after Finnish women that the SS platoon has captured as hostages/entertainment, and then using them as means to ensure a safe path through a minefield Aatami flees into. From there, the rest of the movie is of that cat and mouse game where the SS soldiers are trying to catch Aatami and take the gold, to which Aatami responds back with extreme prejudice. I am not sure if the SS platoon would have let Aatami go if he wasn't carrying gold to steal from him, or if Aatami would have ignored the SS had they left him alone. It is however explained after Wolf has reported their situation to the chain of command, who tell them to return to Germany, when the Obersturmführer Helldorf, played by Axel Henny, reveals that he knows Germany has lost the war, and that returning to Berlin would lead to all of them getting tried for war crimes, meaning that they are fleeing away and need Aatami's gold as a lucky nest egg to set them up for new lives, or just himself alone. Also, that radio call Wolf had with the chain of command reveal more about Aatami's backstory, like how after his family was killed, he became a legendary one-man death squad against 300 slain Soviet soldiers during the Winter War, and Stalin's Red Army dubbed Aatami as Gaucher the Immortal, similar to Simo, Häyhä, and Lauri Törni. There is no point to recap how the movie goes on without just describing all the kills Aatami pulls off, along with all the ways he manages to stay alive when the SS tries to kill him for his gold. Except maybe for this one point where he is actually caught and his gold is appropriated by Helldorf, Wolf, and this one soldier played by Jorma Tommila's son. Instead of wasting ammo trying to kill Aatami, they instead hang him, and Aatami manages to stay alive by putting his weight onto a rebar pointing at one of of his open wounds until the weak structure he is hung on to breaks down from the wind blast caused by a passing plane. Let that be an example of how much Atami's Sisu makes him refuse to die. Then when it comes to Atami going to get his gold back from the SS, I should acknowledge the Finnish women in the platoon's custody and how they also, in being Finnish, similar to Atami, showcase the same Sisu driving him to reclaim his gold in trying to endure their situation until Atami finds them and gives them the means to fight back against their captors. It can and does come across as female empowerment, but in the spirit of Sisu, in how these women are Finnish just like Atami, it comes across as natural plot progression, rather than what some unnamed usual suspects online would call woke. It is not much of a spoiler to say that in the end Atami manages to make it to a bank in Helsinki to deposit his gold, but if you happen to be one of those people who has never seen Sisu, I will keep his words to the bank teller to myself, considering how Tommila played Atami throughout the entire movie without uttering a word out of his mouth in leading up here. Instead, I'm going to give you a tease of the actor's voice from one of his earlier movies and recommend you to watch Sisu for yourself.
We have Santa Claus. Selitä sille, että meillä on täällä pukki myytävänä.
Moving on to the new sequel set 2 years later in 1946. Here Atami returns, intending to collect something worth more than the gold he found in the first movie, his home left in the now Soviet-occupied Karjala, which was given to the Soviet Union as a peace treaty, along with breaking the alliance with Germany and kicking them out by Finland, following the Winter and Continuation Wars. Long story short is that the Soviet Union attacked Finland in 1939 and were pushed out in the following spring in 1940, but not without Finland almost literally losing an arm and a leg in the form of land. In trying to get those land areas back in trying to attack back against the Soviet Union, Finland ended up getting beaten up so badly that Väinö Linna wrote a book about it that has so far been adapted 3 times. The latest one is in HBO Max. But that ended up costing Finland the lands of Karjala, which forced a lot of people to do a mass exodus in leaving their homes, with some of those people still being alive today. Atami's family would have been those people as well, had they not died as set up in the first movie, with the only thing left to remind him of them being the house he used to live with them. So his goal in the sequel is to relocate his family's house by disassembling it and delivering its pieces to be rebuilt on the Finnish soil. Probably on land he bought for himself with some of that gold he got in the previous movie. It would be simple, but as Atami has gone to Soviet Russia and they know he is there because he had to show them his passport when crossing the border, the KGB now knows about his presence and, aware of his legend, look to reclaim some of their pride by killing his legend as Koshei. Like I said earlier in the video, this sequel had twice the budget compared to the first movie, meaning that Jalmari Helander was able to get Hollywood actors like Stephen Lang to play the Red Army officer Igor Dragunov, who killed Atami's family, and Richard Brake to be an unnamed KGB officer who sends Dragunov to take responsibility for having made Atami a legend. Contrast to Heldorf and Wolf in the first movie, Dragunov is portrayed initially having been imprisoned for cruel war crimes, and is released as the perfect attack dog to pursue Atami. He does not have anything personal against Atami, but rather is offered his freedom in exchange to catching Atami and bringing him alive to Siberia, which would be the worst place for anyone to be immortal in his own words. In short, Igor Dragunov as a character is a bad guy hired for one last job, and he has no regrets for his past actions with how he served his country during World War II. This characterization is eventually fleshed out later when he finally manages to catch Atami long enough to have a one-sided conversation with Atami who doesn't speak back to him, and even that seems to have been done just for the sake of pushing Atami to keep going. Once again, Sisu+Si2u is carried by the action, which is this time escalated from fleeing away on foot into a car race with Atami's cargo truck carrying the logs of his house, going up against motorcycles and Soviet-era jets, and without spoiling the end too much, a moving train sequence that would not be out of place in a video game. And between all that, he also pulls off a stunt that is best described by comparing it to this. As far as Jalmari Helander is concerned, Atami's story he told in the 2 movies is perfectly concluded, with him managing to find a good ending for himself, which I won't spoil further than that. But he has said that if given enough money he would come back to do a 3rd movie, with Jorma Tommila having also said that he is willing to come back to reprise his role as Atami as long as he still has the physical strength for it. For better or worse, Sisu+Si2u is a movie I recommend to watch not only for the action, but also for Tommila's non-verbal performance while directed by Helander. Compared to movies with too much dialogue in trying to explain what is happening, or to certain comic books, Sisu+Si2u along with the first Sisu movie is something that properly showcases the visual part in the audiovisual media that cinema experience is expected to have. And being a Finnish man myself, I felt obligated to do this kind of double feature in not only giving my thoughts on both movies, but to also advertise them to my audience while the sequel is still in the theaters. If you have seen one or both movies, comment down what you think about them and like this video based on how well I managed to talk in recommending them. Feel free to share this video for more people to see, and check out my channel for other videos I have made to consider subscribing to my channel. Also, ding the bell to be alerted for the 3 times a week when I do gaming streams for a chance to chat with me, and may your heart be your guiding key.